can see our presentation on the screen now. And to kick off, what are we going to talk about today? We'll talk about the analysis of your recruitment campaigns, obviously. In order to do that, you need to have your setup properly done so you can capture all necessary data. We'll give a general introduction on how to analyze on Facebook. Then we'll go into detail, and Steph will go live showing you Business Manager and how we analyze our campaigns. And there's a little surprise for those of you who stay until the very end, which will be 40 minutes from now. So we aim to end by 11:45 in order to respect your timing. Good. What are we not going to talk about today is budgeting in detail, targeting in detail, data-driven recruitment, everything which is kind of leading up to how you can analyze your campaign and how you get data will not be subject of today. We have a white paper on that, which we'll share as we move along. So this will be really focused on analyzing your campaigns. And maybe to start with the first poll, we're just going to push a poll to understand how many of you have already put a paid advertising campaign on Facebook. So if you have already advertised on Facebook, just say yes. If advertising on Facebook and paying for advertising on Facebook is completely new to you, it's going to be a no, right? And if you don't want to participate, you can also not click on the poll, but we would love for you to keep this interactive and to let us know what your background is. So any results already, Steph?
Not yet. Not
you
yet.
have to click on the eye.
Yeah.
All right. Nobody yet active enough to present?
No, not yet. And there are people in the room. So.
There are people. So all you have to do is go to the poll bar and there click on what you want. People a bit shy?
A bit shy, but the most of them are not yet publishing paid recruitment campaigns.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So if you're interested in doing that, and I'm assuming as you're here, that's actually what you want to do, please make sure you keep you track one of our other webinars where we go into detail on how you can set up your first campaign. Just now one slide with some shameless self-promotion about Simple, and just to kind of show you why we are able to give you some details on the analysis is actually, this is what we do, right? Every day we publish recruitment campaigns. We analyze about 11 million data points per month just to get some learnings on what is working well, what are the learnings for you to make better campaigns. And we do that for a lot of customers. We have a lot of corporate customers like Heineken, like Duracell, like Pizza Hut, but we also have a lot of smaller SME companies, startups, scale-ups, which are using our technology to recruit. Okay, but let's start with the content. And very important for you to set up your campaign properly. And what do I mean by that is that when you will be using Facebook and Instagram, it's going to be very important for you to install a Facebook pixel onto your website. Right? That means that allows Facebook to actually track what is happening on your website. Secondly, also very important to install Google Analytics and Google Tag Manager. To be very clear, those are both completely free tools, right? So you don't have to spend any money on that. There's no secret upselling or freemium analysis. It's free forever, as they say, but it will allow you to have a good understanding of how many people are visiting your vacancy, how long do they stay, how many of them actually apply, because that's going to be very important as a data point to allow you to do proper analysis. But also very important is that you get different data from Facebook and you get different data from Google. And sometimes these data will not correspond, right? So Facebook will say, for instance, 100 people will have landed on your website, while according to Google, it'll only be 80, right? So you have quite a bit of differences. It's a methodological. Is that a word, Stephanie? Methodological.
No idea.
I'm starting to doubt on that. I think the exact word is methodological, but I wouldn't be surprised if even that is just an invention of myself. Basically, there's a difference in methods, right, in how to capture data. And for that, it's going to be very important that if you can, if you're willing to, you also use Google Data Studio to capture all that data into one place. Okay. And again, this might be overwhelming for you if you haven't on the setup of that. We'll share, or maybe you can share a data white paper now, yes. Right? So Stephanie will share a link to our data white paper where you can read all about the details on how to set this up and the importance of setting it up right. But we're just going to assume that has been done, right? Yes. And also that actually you understand very well what your marketing funnel or your recruitment funnel looks like. Again, I won't go too deep in detail here, but of course there's different stages, right? People are first noticing or being attracted by your vacancy, then they will land on your vacancy. Hopefully, some of those people will actually apply to the vacancy, and if all goes well, you'll hire one or two of those people who have applied. So that's a very rough top-line version of your marketing or recruitment funnel. That's actually marketing and recruitment funnel. And what the analysis is going to learn you is basically where your bottlenecks are, right? It's basically you are not able to attract people to come to your vacancy, and therefore your advertising needs to be better, or there's enough people landing on your vacancy, but they're actually not applying, right? It's a totally different problem, right? It has a totally different remedy, but what's first going to be important is to understand what is happening and where the problem is situated. Again, Stephanie will go live and will show you how in the back office of Facebook you can actually detect these problems, how you can remedy them, and how you can actually solve the issues. One other important part of your setup is going to be to use UTM codes. You probably have noticed those already. When you click on a link, you have a very long URL, right, with lots of different codes in there. This is very important to use UTM codes in order to be able to do proper analysis at the back end, right? Because this is where you will define what your source is from your traffic, whether actually it's paid, right? Is it free media, paid media, organic media? It's the little Dutch word which crept into the presentation there. But this is part of your setup. And if you don't do this setup properly, right, it's going to be nigh impossible to actually do proper analysis. Okay, so it's kind of very important to have your setup right. Download the data white paper, which explains everything in detail, because that's going to be important to have it right. Now, we're going to assume you've done your setup, right? You're able to track everything which is needed, and actually, you now want to start analyzing what is happening with your campaign. And for those of you who have already set up your Facebook campaign or a Facebook campaign, you will be aware that you have to choose objectives at the beginning of the campaign. You actually have to tell Facebook what you want to achieve. Is that brand awareness? Is that traffic to your website? Or is it actually, and that's what we advise, is it conversions? Conversions would be somebody who converts onto your website. In our case, as we're talking about recruitment, that means applying for a vacancy, right? So keep that in mind for those of you who haven't yet set up your Facebook campaign. Very important that you think about what you want to achieve and also convey that to Facebook through the back office. Now, keep that in mind. For the rest of this analysis, we'll start building on the hypothesis, hypothesis. I can use so many different words ending on this if we want. But in order to set up your analysis in a proper way, you need to take into account what your objective is. And for now, we will assume that's conversion. Now, you've set up your campaign. Your objective is conversion, right? You then want to go look into the data and understand what's happening with your campaign. Not so fast, we might say, because it's very well possible you might have to do some troubleshooting first, right? Because it could be that you open your data set and you see zeros everywhere, right? And actually, nobody or nothing is being tracked. So we put a little list here because what could happen if you don't have any data coming in? Your ad might not be running because it's not approved by Facebook. Maybe your credit card is blocked and actually no money is being spent on your advertising campaign. The Facebook pixel, which is actually meant to track conversions, might not be installed in a proper way. The URL to which you're sending people might not be right. So it's very important, if you don't see that data coming in, that you go back and you tick off all these things just to make sure that your campaign is running properly. Because of course, if your campaign is not working properly, you're not going to get the data. And this might sound like a stupid comment to make, but there's a big difference. If you put an ad in the paper, right, or onto a job board even, it's very easy for you to go and check, okay, was it published? You buy the paper, you open it up, there's your ad. You know it's working and it's been published. It's a lot more difficult to do that on Facebook, because if you're not in the target audience, even if you'll be active on Facebook, you're not automatically going to see that ad. So you need to make sure that all your tracking is set up properly, just to make sure it's going the right way. Good. Now, again, we're going to assume as of now, everything's working smoothly and you get the data flowing in to your business manager. And again, Steph will move on to that and show it live. But before you do that, just be aware, you're going to see a lot of data in Facebook, right? Because they will show you everything. They're very transparent, and they're gonna bombard you with all the data you want. So it's very important, in function of your objective, that you start thinking about what are the main KPIs you're going to be looking at, right? There's a couple of KPIs we propose to work on. Maybe just conversion rate is going to be the most important one, and most important KPI to track. And just to build on that, and I might ask another question first, which will allow me some time to drink. If you could just publish a poll on the Facebook pixel,
yeah,
just to know how many of you have actually installed the Facebook pixel.
Mm-hmm. You can see the poll on the right. Yeah. Answers coming in. The majority of people hasn't installed the Facebook pixel.
Okay. All right, so you haven't installed the Facebook pixel. That means it's going to be not possible for you to actually track conversions from the Facebook, from Facebook, from the Facebook analysis and business manager. So you have to use Google Analytics for that. But again, important, as we mentioned before, if you're serious about advertising on Facebook, to install that pixel. But you can do this analysis without, no doubt. Just to explain, what is a conversion? This could be the total number of applications, so how many people have applied to a vacancy, divided by the visitors on the website times 100, right? An example could be 50 divided by 1250 gives you a conversion rate of 4%, which is very good, I might add, okay? So that's how you calculate conversion rates. It's not advanced mathematics, I realize that, but it's important to keep in mind this is going to be your main KPI to do your analysis as of now. And once you master the concept of a conversion rate, you can start using it for many different things. You could use it to calculate your conversion rate per channel, right? Is Facebook working better than Instagram? Is it working better than Indeed? But you could also start using it to actually convert and start using other KPIs next to it, like, for instance, a click-through rate, which is a term which is used by Facebook, which is actually your conversion from Facebook to your vacancy page. right? I seem to have problems with certain words. We can do a poll on that later on. Okay, so keep in mind KPIs, conversion rate is the first one you're going to be looking at, and that's also the one you're going to be using internally with your management to explain to them where potential bottlenecks might be. And once you convert it to calculation, you move on to click-through rate. You can move on and even start calculating, for instance, cost per click, because that's going to be driving your budget. Now, those three KPIs, conversion rate, click-through rate, cost per click, those are the main KPIs you're going to want to understand, analyze for you to have a look at how your campaign is working. And then, very important, once your campaign is working, do the analysis. Now, if you have many campaigns, you can actually start comparing which campaign is working better. Is this vacancy easier or cheaper than the previous one? But many of you, as you've indicated, have no idea of what a good benchmark is. That's why we want to share our benchmarks. So this is going to give you an idea, once your campaign is running, whether you're doing good or bad. For conversion on Facebook, this means how many people have seen your ad, click on your advertising to go to your vacancy page. Again, page. What is the problem here? Page, right? Please, Steph, correct me. The next time I say page, right? Facebook page, right? It's not that hard, Mark. Okay. So your conversion from people seeing your advertising, clicking, and going to your vacancy. You see how I cleverly avoid the word page in this way. Click-through of 0.3 is not good, right? But a click-through of 2% or a conversion of 2% is really good. That's a good KPI. That means you're doing well. Similarly, once they land on your website and they're looking at your vacancy, how many people apply? 0.5%. That's not a good number. That means you have to take activities to increase that and to improve that. If it would be 3%, you're A-OK, right? That means you have a great website, you have a great conversion tool, and a great conversion rate at that moment. So these are two ways of actually checking how you're doing once you have the numbers rolling in. The second one, if you don't really have a lot of data already, is actually to do some A/B testing. Steph will show you results on that. But for those of you who don't know what's an A/B test, an A/B test is actually where you, for instance, show to half of your audience, you show one version of your campaign, and to the other half of your target audience, you show the second one. And you can test many different things. You can test copy, you can test visuals, you can test job title, you can test your call to action. In this case, in this example, we're testing the visual. So we're keeping everything else the same. We're just changing the visual to understand which one is working better and which one is bringing the better candidates. And once you set up a campaign like that, you can actually go pretty fancy. You can do different A/B testing, right, to actually come to the best working combination of your campaign. Okay, that was a setup. That was a bit of explanation of how you should basically start thinking on your analysis. But we'll go live now to Steph to actually show you how you can access that data and how you can do the analysis. So over to you, Steph.
Yes, thanks, Mark. I'm just going to share my screen first. Share screen. So if everything goes well, you see Ads Manager. This is the tool where you can publish paid campaigns on Facebook and Instagram. I'm just going to make it a little bit bigger maybe for you guys. I hope you can see the numbers. So what you see here is we did a campaign for Bioelectric. Bioelectric is one of our clients, and what they actually do, they they manufacture innovative installations that convert manure into sustainable energy. And they were searching for a country manager in Italy. The requirements for the job was that he or she had to have affinity with agriculture and also sales skills. So as we didn't have an audience that was that had affinity with agriculture, we started with the interests on Facebook itself. So on Facebook, you can choose different interests, and one of them was agriculture. Nice for us. So at the beginning, we started to do an A/B test on the campaign goal. As you can see here, I don't know if you can see it, but you can see traffic and conversion. It is really important also in your name setting that you
choose the right names.
Choose the right names so that you can easily see in Ads Manager, because there's a lot of metrics, there's a lot of data that you can easily see, okay, which audience did I use, which campaign goal, which creative, etc. So it's important to subscribe everything in your name. So we started off with traffic and conversion, and here you can see the results. You can see that we reached actually more people on the traffic campaign compared to the impressions, which is a good thing. So you could say, okay, traffic is the best working ad. But if we have a look further, then you will see that the click-through, so like Mark already said, the conversion on Facebook itself, the people that really clicked on your ad to your vacancy, is higher for the conversion campaign. And most importantly, the cost is also a bit lower for your landing page view, your cost per landing page view. The most important KPI for us, for our recruitment campaigns, is of course the applications itself. And as you can see, there were more conversions, there were more applications for the conversion campaign than for the traffic campaign. I also want to point out that Facebook, the performance of your campaign not only depends on your campaign goal, your audience, your creative, but also on your vacancy page. Facebook will also track, will also see how good your vacancy page is. If people have to really search on your website and click through a lot, then your performance on Facebook will be less than if they immediately can apply, immediately do a conversion. So that's really an important thing to keep in mind as well. For this campaign, we knew that the conversion on the vacancy page was really, really high. It was more than 5%. And if you still remember from Mark, that is a really, really high conversion rate for your conversion on your vacancy. And actually, the click-through on Facebook wasn't that well. We should aim to 2%. So what we did then is, how can you make sure that the click-through raises? There are two options. Or you can use another audience, or you can use another creative. And what we did is we made a lookalike audience of all the people that visited your vacancy already, which was already thousands, which is a lot. And we made a lookalike audience of it. What is a lookalike audience? That is a similar audience that already visited your vacancy. So we created a lookalike audience, and we also made a new picture to show them. And I'm just gonna adjust the dates to lifetime. Here you can see that we used the vacancy visits, 10%. We used the same image. It was a picture of the innovative machine. And here we used the lookalike audience of the vacancy. So it's the same audience as this one, but we use another picture, and we use a picture of a team. The results were better than the ones before, because our click-through was much higher for the team pictures and also for the lookalike audience. And the cost was also less. The conversions itself were also high. But of course, this one had the most conversions, but it also had a larger date range. No,
it was lower.
Yeah,
it was on for longer.
Yeah. So these are the results that you can see in Facebook itself. there are many metrics. This table can be up to 100 or more metrics, but I selected a couple of them just not to overload you with all the data. But I'm just going to show you.
Before you go, Steph, can I just add one thing? Because I can realize if you're not really used to putting advertising campaigns live, you might say a difference between, I'm just looking at the click-through now, 1.07% and 1.94% is not that big. But don't underestimate the numbers we're talking about. And on top of that, you have a double whammy, because not only is the click-through higher, but you're paying less for these people. So we're not going into the detail with total budgeting because that would drive us too long. But small percentage changes have a massive impact on your budget, especially if you have the right people. Just want to add that.
Yeah, I'm just going to show you the Google Data Studio report that we've built. Like Mark already said, you have to take the data of Ads Manager of Facebook, but also the data of Google Analytics. So I'm just going to show you this one. I don't know if it's big enough to see the data. But here you can see the campaign that we did for Bioelectric. You can see here all the ad sets, all the ads for the conversion campaign. Like I said, the interest that we use with the picture of the machine, the lookalike audience with the picture of the machine, and the lookalike audience with the picture of the team. And what is useful is that you can see here the cost per application. And like Mark already said, it's not because your click-through is higher or your cost per landing page view is lower. You have to really take a look at the most important KPI for you, and for us, it's the applications, but also, of course, the cost per application. And I just want to point out that this campaign was really good. So if you have a cost per application of €5, you have to be very happy.
Open a champagne.
Yeah. So these are the dashboards that we use here at Simple. But of course, we want to show our client, we want to be as transparent as possible. So what he receives is a customized dashboard also in Google Data Studio. You can customize it yourself. You can see here the recruitment funnel. The client will see the conversion rate, how many people have applied. Lots of people have applied, as you can see here, more than 200. So this is really useful. This is really transparent for the client as well.
And again, just to add, this is a free tool. So yes, you need to work a bit and you need to put some effort into that, but it's a very flexible tool. It's a very powerful tool, which you can set up completely for free.
Yes. I just want to point out that the conversion rate is, of course, a really important metric to adjust your campaign and to see where it goes wrong. But you also have to keep in mind the quality of the candidates that apply. For if you have a conversion rate of 6% or 5%, which is really high, but none of them, the client thinks that they don't have the required skills or they're really off target. So you also need that in mind to optimize your campaign, of course. Now, what we do at Simple, we go a bit further. I'm just going to show you our tool. For example, this is a campaign. Oh, can you see the numbers? Maybe it's a bit small. So what we do at Simple, we have built an algorithm which at the beginning of a campaign, if we have a new client, the algorithm will automatically create several A/B tests. So we test audiences, we test campaign goals, we test creatives, we test campaign copy, and our algorithm will put it live automatically. And then after already one day, the algorithm will allocate the biggest budget to the most performing ads. So this you can see here, you see lots of data. I'm not going to go into detail to all the data, but here you can see that the budget, which was €50 for this campaign, is allocated automatically to the most performing one. And the algorithm will keep in mind, okay, how many applications were there? What was the quality of the application? What was the cost of the application? What was the click-through on Facebook? And all the data will keep the algorithm in mind to allocate the budgets to the most performing ads. So, and actually you go a bit further than that as well, which will Mark will show you our newest tool.
Is it back to me?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry.
No problem. I'll put on my camera. So welcome back on this end here. I'll share my screen. Yes, like Stephanie mentioned, we realized that for some of our customers, actually, it could be a bit overwhelming to actually have to set up everything yourself. So that's why we create kind of nice little tool here where you can actually yourself, after you put a campaign live through our system, you can actually track yourself everything which is happening. You can put a total budget per campaign. You can actually see in a much more attractive way what is happening, impressions, visits, applications, money spent here. But more importantly, our algorithm will do the analysis for you. So actually the tool that Steph showed you and which we are using internally for our clients, we now put into a piece of software. So you see here, for instance, inactive, active. These are the tests that have been run by our algorithm automatically based on the input of the client to actually understand what campaigns are working well, what target audiences are working well, which A/B test has given which result, and then the algorithm has automatically put some ads on inactive. So just to give you kind of an idea, this shows you full transparency on your campaign without actually needing the know-how and the knowledge to manage the campaign by yourself, to put UTM codes in the right way, through some A/B testing. Our algorithm will do all of that for you. And as we promised, a little surprise at the back end, we're going to share with you a link for a free trial. So if you can use this link, you can learn a bit more about the tool. Actually, what I haven't shown yet, that's also very important. Let me show you here. This also will give you a Kanban board to allow you to have a look at your candidates, to manage your candidates. And by managing your candidates, so for instance, stopping the procedure or going to them and calling them interesting or going into discussion with them, our algorithm will learn what kind of candidates you like, what the sources of those candidates are, which specific Facebook campaign they were coming through, and will automatically adapt the right campaigns. It's a great tool if you're interested for a cheap price to actually run your social media campaigns, targeting or looking for applicants. This is only used for recruiting. So this is not for finding leads for other companies. It's only built for specifically with recruitment marketing in mind. Okay, I think I just zapped away from the presentation there. Let's go back here. So we've done that. We've shown you a little sneak preview of our software. And so as we promised, we're ending around 11:40. It's a bit earlier because we haven't yet had many tough questions. So hopefully those questions will come now. So we have a bit of question time, left 5 minutes. So any question you might have, any issues you have with your campaigns, specific questions on analysis, click-through rates, iOS 14, which is another hot topic at the moment in Facebook campaigning, and Stephanie can tell you everything about that for sure. So let us know. Do you have any other questions?
I think you must have explained everything very well.
It was a team effort. It was a team effort.
Because there are no questions.
Okay. We'll give it 30 seconds more, just to make sure that there's nothing you're stuck with, any questions you might have. Facebook, LinkedIn, this is your moment. Don't hesitate to ask any questions you want. But there's nothing coming in. I'm looking to Steph now. Okay?
Thank you.
All right, then there's one last poll we're going to do, just to make sure. There's two more questions we have for you. One is if you could start with a poll on next subjects.
Yeah.
What other subjects would you be interested in, to have featured as a webinar? And then a final poll. I'm not sure, can we show two polls at the same time?
Yeah, we can.
We can. Amazing.
Actually done.
It's done already.
Done already.
Okay, so far for agreements. All right, so probably two polls, and the other poll would be is how happy you were with the effort Steph and I have put in this. I know that's a leading question, but there you go. I'm entitled to leading questions after 40 minutes of a webinar. So just tell us whether this was useful or not. That we would much appreciate it. Okay, so I'll give you 15 more seconds, either for that question you were afraid to ask until 11:38, or maybe just some feedback in our poll. All right, and I'll be counting down the clock. 5 more seconds left for those of you who need actually fear of missing out, call to action. That was it. 2 seconds, 1 second, and we're off. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Cheers.